Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is my first attempt at Princess Nuala. Alright, so I first started off with gluing down my eyebrows. I used a cheap glue stick that I found at CVS, nothing too special. Definitely not the best from what I've seen, and it seems to break down a little easier with any water-based paints. So I would do a little more research before buying just your nearest 99-cent glue stick. So now I'm flattening down my eyebrows and using a very effective hand-waving drawing method. And next I am putting on my elf ears that I made. I used both spirit gum and liquid latex, and they both worked equally as well. The only pain was trying to take them off at the end of the night, which both hurt immensely. With my elf ears, I made them by using cardboard and Q-tips with a little toilet tissue and liquid latex. I'll have to remake them and make a tutorial for you guys. So in this part, I'm flattening them down with a little more spirit gum. Be careful not to get this in your hair. A tiny bit did end up making it into my hairline, and it was a nightmare trying to get out. Okay, so now I'm putting a little more glue on my eyebrows. Didn't like that they weren't flat enough. And now I'm using my liquid latex that I got off of Amazon and a toothpick, and I'm adding in the little scar lines that she had. By doing this, I created a very thin layer that I could add on more liquid latex to, so it dried pretty quickly. And now I'm using a white eyeliner pencil to kind of trace out where I wanted my other little scars. I did this because I wasn't too sure how to draw the one over the bridge of my nose, but it wasn't too difficult, as you can tell. Then I went ahead and did a second layer on a couple of them. So while I waited for that to dry, I used my Maron white paint with a little bit of water and went ahead and painted on the white to my neck and chest. So I went back over my ears a little bit because I wanted them to match. So with this second layer, I added on too much water, as you can see, and it made the paint a little thinner. You want to make sure not to do that because it can mess up what you're doing if you've started a big section like on your chest. So now with the same method, I went ahead and painted over my face. Now this I waited to do until I was sure the liquid latex was completely dry, otherwise it would smear it and make my whole face a liquid latex paint mess, which no one wants to deal with. So you might want to make sure you get your consistency just right so that you're not doing too watery of a layer. Otherwise, if you have to do a second layer of paint, it will almost thin out certain spots and make it look very uneven. Now on this part, I took a dry brush with a little bit of white eyeshadow. I used Taco by Sugar Pill. And I went over to kind of set the paint. And then afterwards, wherever I saw the paint looked a little thinner, I took a sponge and went over it. Followed up by setting it with a face powder. Now I'm using my Sephora Pro palette, and I'm using the reddish pink color to trace over the latex scars. I didn't like how dark and red the color came out, and I'll show you in just a minute how I managed to combat the redness. So now to combat the red, I took more of my white face paint and I just traced over all of those red lines. This was my first layer of paint. I think I did 2 or 3 different layers. After that dried a little bit, I went ahead and set the color with more of that face powder. And here I went back over it to lighten it up a little bit more. So now after that dried, I used a small angled brush to add a little more detail to the scar areas. And I went ahead and set it again with more of that face powder. Now here I'm using Kat Von D's, whatever you call it, eyeshadow primer on my eyelids, and I went all around my whole eye in order to set up for using that orange eyeshadow. By Sugar Pill, I used Flame Point. Really vibrant shade. It's one of my favorites in the collection. So you can switch out your brushes. I switched out and used a more fluffy brush to help and kind of blend all of that out a little easier. So for the inner corners of my eye, I actually used an eyeshadow by Kylie Cosmetics that my friend Cami gave me. I thought it was a nice contrast between gold and orange. And I went back in with that fluffy brush and blended a little more of that eyeshadow out. I think my next time doing it, I will have done a more subtle looking blend. And now I'm putting a little bit of eyeliner on. I know she didn't have eyeliner in the movie, but my eyes look a little weird without it, so I went ahead and just put a tiny bit on. And now I'm using NYX lipstick. I'll add the color in the bottom here. And I'm going over my lips with that. This color is usually pretty dark, but mixed with the white face paint, it gave it a lighter color that I was actually going for. And I used that same lipstick to kind of go over and highlight certain spots on all of the little scars that I had. And here I added actually a little cat eye just because I like the way it looks. And then I went over with that orange eyeshadow and just a little bit of a contour down my nose. So now I'm tucking my braids in, and I am going to be wearing my wig that I got from Wig Is Fashion. It's a really beautiful blonde lace front. As you can tell, this wig is all white in comparison to the kind of burnt orange that was in Princess Nuala's hair, but since I didn't have a wig like that, I went ahead and used a photo editor and made it look a little more accurate. So that is the look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.